Hello and welcome to another episode of Honest to a Malt with myself, Duncan Donuts, now sporting almost 2 full eyebrows. Mike, he's forgotten more about drop curbs and lobbying for than most of us have ever learned. And this week we've got a special guest. He's a wine and whiskey aficionado, photographer, TV personality, and lover of a pair of well-pressed chinos. Welcome, Colin Hampden-White. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's great to be here. And gosh, I don't know how I could add to that. You had it all in a nutshell. That was perfect.
That was mega.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and stuff. But it would be nice if you want to just share a little more about yourself with our listeners.
There's more than just colourful chinos.
Absolutely. Yeah. We saw that picture of you of red chinos. Red trousers is a hot topic from...
It's an actual topic online at the moment, isn't it? It's quite a conversational piece.
It's gone on for years, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we could start with, do you still own a pair of red chinos or trousers?
I do. I do still own some red chinos and some red cords. Excellent. I wear them a little less these days, although as I travel to one Premier every year in Bordeaux, they do have an airing.
Yeah. Okay. There's a time and a place, basically.
Just in case. Just covers off any red wine spillage. You're like, it blends in with the trousers, no problems.
I think the bravest I've ever gone in trousers is like green trousers, like pressed, sort of green chinos.
There's no braver
blue.
than
I had blue once.
Beige linen.
Sky blue.
Oh, mate, beige linen. I also need to say, by the way, we are episode 67. He Won't Whine About Whiskey, featuring Colin Hampden-White.
So you obviously you're known from being on the TV show The Three Drinkers, as well as being a keeper of the quack. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Quack, quack, quack.
Yeah, quack. Yeah. And a lot more. So it's really a delight to have you on. So we probably just get straight into it then. We start with guests, Colin. Mm-hmm. So the last few days, what's been in your glass and what's been up your ass? What's been annoying you?
Oh gosh. Okay, what's been in my glass? Actually, part of what's been in my glass is what I'm drinking now, which is an old bottle of Dewar's. One of the old flagon bottles that I bought, which I'm absolutely loving. I find that old bottles sometimes have a sort of a vegetable note from bottle aging and so on, and this doesn't have any of that at all. It's just an absolute delight, and just a sort of a view into another world of when they made whiskey. So that's something I'm really enjoying, and it's not
expensive.
Mention
that's from the 60s? In the preamble, you mentioned you bought it from auction, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I did. And I'm pretty certain it's 60s. But there's absolutely no detail on the bottle at all. There's not even an ABV.
It's super difficult, isn't it? Is it the old
there's no ABV
rather than ABV?
Oh yeah, because they didn't have to put ABVs on until a certain period, did they?
There must have been a back label that's come off because there's not even any proof on it.
I love it.
There's nothing at all. And it just simply says, distilled and bottled in Scotland under British government supervision.
Well, that's good to know. That's reassuring.
It is, isn't it?
Is there any soapy notes in it, or is it devoid of that as well?
It's devoid of that as well. It tastes fresh, with nice little tropical notes in it. Not woody in the slightest, not cereally in the slightest. It's just a really lovely little whiskey. And I've not had an old white label before, so very pleased. Very pleased indeed.
2 podcasts ago, Colin, we sometimes jokingly do Dragon's Den style pitches to guests. And 2 podcasts ago, we pitched the idea of the digital ABV glass to Seb and Libby from Glasgow Distillery, and they would have backed it. So if you had the magical ABV digital glass now, you'd know what ABV
you'd know
was
exactly
at.
what
tell
ABV
you
it was.
Digitally on the glass. Let's get some scientist people on that.
I mean, I suspect because it was a very high fill level that it hadn't lost much ABV.
Probably still not far off 40.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Not far off 40 at all.
Has anything been annoying you in the last week?
Yeah.
I think what's annoying me generally is that as whiskey is coming into a little bit of a downturn, it's not a crevice or anything like that. It's just sort of a readjustment of how much people are drinking and which generations are drinking what. And there's an enormous amount of data being collected as to why this is happening. But I think what slightly annoys me is that brands still are bringing out more and more expensive whiskies. And it's why. I mean, and whiskies that aren't particularly old. I mean, last year we had Talisker Rating, came out at an enormously high price, and actually that has now come back down again. It's not as low as I'd like it, but it has. And they kind of recognise that, the global market has changed. But there are lots of brands that just haven't.
I didn't realise the price had come down again. It shot up to like £180 or something.
Yeah, it went north of 200 at one point.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. That does feel ambitious.
Yeah, I think the initial price that Diageo were looking for it was well over 200 in the initial pricing.
I'm going to say that's more than ambitious. That's daylight robbery. Quite frankly, I mean, that is a stretch. That's what, like, to me, as a drinker, I then lose all faith in that company. I know it's sort of Diageo back, but I'm like, it's going to take something special to draw me back in to ever put money back to them, because
I don't take anything personally. I
take everything personally.
I just say that one's too expensive. On that bottle, I'm not buying that bottle. You know, if Lagavulin put out another Guinness cask, whatever it's special edition for Offerman for £65 or £70 minus £5 voucher or whatever, I'll still buy it. I'm not cutting off everything from that company. You know, if someone's selling a Dao Yuan Flora and Fauna 16-year-old for 40 quid and I fancy a 43% bottle, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the real test would be if they drop their price back to £85, all those people that said that they wouldn't buy from the company anymore, I bet they would.
Of course they would. And I think also what's interesting is that the original price for Talisker 18, for example, was extortionately high. And then they recognised that, okay, that might have been a mistake, and they brought it down. And fortunately, I think one of the sort of benefits of this downturn is that we're seeing a huge amount of discounting everywhere.
Massive.
It's almost hard to know where the best discounts are. You know, sometimes it's at auction, sometimes there's just retail sale after sale.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've bought a Glenfarclas 25-year-old at a huge discount.
Right.
Sort of £100 off.
Nice. Yeah, but it was you could buy it in Costco, couldn't you, for like £100 up until
Amazon
recently.
used to do the Glenfarclas 21 was like 95 quid, and then I think the 25 was up to like 125 or something. You look back something now, like you're going, dear God.
Did you see the Whisky Exchange? Did they reduce their special edition? It's a 20-year-old Glenfarclas, but obviously it doesn't say that on the label. You have to know. It's technically it's a secret bottle, but it's pretty well known that it's Glenfarclas, and that was a 20-year-old. I think it was single cask. I think it's like small batch, maybe.
Okay.
So maybe they've done. I don't know. They weren't too clear about how many bottles, but maybe it was like 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
I think they reduced it down to. It was supposed to be £135, and they took £65 off it, or something like that. I mean, give or take £5 here or there in that region. They basically brought it down to 65 quid to clear, basically, or something like that.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's what whiskey drinkers should be looking out for. There are going to be lots and lots of discounts. Just don't feel you need to buy the next best thing coming along. Just
that's great advice.
Keep waiting. There will be some fabulous deals.
Like bringing it full circle back to Diageo, again on the Whisky Exchange, when they did that, you had to buy 2 bottles, but then you got you got a festival edition.
The Lagavulin.
Yeah.
Kalila.
And on Master of Malt, they had the Heavy Vapors at a £10 discount already. So you got the Lagavulin and a free bottle of Heavy Vapors. It was fabulous.
There we go. And sometimes the offers are too good to turn down, aren't they?
I know.
That's the challenge. And I sort of end up stockpiling, really. But if it's a bargain, it's a bargain.
Quite. Yeah. And then what do you do with all that whiskey at the end of the day?
Sits there open.
You hope you hope you're going to find a way to live forever so you can drink it.
We'll just have many, many parties.
Yeah, I'm always looking for a vampire who's going to convert me. Yeah, Mike, what about you? What's been in your glass and what's been up your arse?
What's been in my glass? Loads of that SMWS again, the Berrylicious. Balmenic. We've covered it off on the previous pod. However, it is wonderful. I'm so glad I picked up 2 bottles of that one. And at the moment, I've just dug to the back of the cupboard and picked up an old Compass Box Asila.
Nice.
Dirt cheap blend. I think it is 50% Cameron Bridge and then Tiernick and Linkwood and something else making up the rest of it. But 40%. I remember it was super cheap on Amazon years ago. Yeah, one of those probably that don't exist anymore because I think they've stopped making it, and it goes in line with Compass Box changing and going with new bottlings.
I remember it. It was a really good blend.
So good.
So just easygoing.
Yeah.
Uncomplicated, tasty.
Yeah. I got a lot of time for Compass Box, and good luck to them with the new bottlings. And
they've released 2 new ones, haven't they? I think.
Yeah, I think they're going for a whole sort of rebrand on the bottlings.
They've got rid of a couple of bottles as well from the range, like the Spaniard or something.
Well, I think with Mr. Glazer sort of stepping aside, they kind of had to do something just to make it slightly different in appearance. And then again, they're so open with what they're doing. It's not like they're hiding anything. They've just come up with some nice new branding and hopefully some really good bottles. So we'll see.
They do some of the best artwork out there, don't they?
They were putting out loads at one point, though, weren't they? They put out so many different bottlings, and they were trying to just do batches and batches and batches. So, yeah, I think if they have reduced that down a bit, good luck. Focus on that. Happy days.
Talking about rebranding, what did you guys think of the Glendronach
Hated it.
rebrand?
Awful.
Don't tell us you did it or something.
Yeah. I advised them.
No, I didn't at all.
But
no, they just
not a close family member or anything like that. Best friend.
No, not at all. I mean, Rachel's a mate, but you know, in that branding team, nothing to do with them at all. No, I just kind of thought it was just
they had it down. It was perfect.
It was fine as it was.
Look, it's an initial reaction. I'll probably get used to it, but there's something. My heart is tied to the previous branding and label.
Yeah,
I think that as a whiskey drinker, I love that old label, and I don't particularly get on with the new branding. However, it's more approachable for non-whiskey drinkers.
Yeah,
it's that idea of what does an old whiskey bottle label look like, rather than what does an old whiskey bottle label look like.
It's like anything. Sometimes it can just take a while to get your head around it. But my initial reaction was, one of just, I mean, Glendronach's another one where the prices have shot up. But most of us whiskey drinkers have got a few bottles tucked away in the cupboard, which is on the old branding anyway, right? It's the old liquid, old branding. So it's just a question of when you crack those open.
I suppose the Glenmorangie, I remember hating that. The rebrand of the Glenmorangie, and I've got used to that.
I've got used to that one as well. Yeah.
I really did.
I actually like it. Stands out on the shelf now.
I think now, brilliant, great move.
So I think it's just initial reaction. I'm just ask us how we feel after 6 months.
Yeah.
What did you think of the new liquid though from Glenmorangie?
I haven't tried the new. It's 12 now, isn't it? From 10. I haven't tried it. Yourself?
I have tried it, and in full disclosure, I did a tiny bit of work for that in terms of marketing, but I tasted it first of all because they were just asking people's opinions back in November.
Yeah.
And those of us that tasted it then, there were a few other journalists. We just said, they said it's not finished yet. You just don't change it. It's actually the 12-year-old you're showing us now is great, and they didn't. They've released as we tasted it back then, and I think it's a really good job.
I tend to only get like the sort of special edition ones, like the winter one, or there was that lighthouse one. I've tried some of those. I haven't actually tried the core range for a while, I have to say.
Was it the Quinta Ruben? Was the
Quinta Ruben? Yeah. You get
Cask.
Is it La Santa as well? I think
La Santa.
Yeah.
I've tried all those.
Yeah. And then also, of course, they've changed the Sauterne cask is now sweet wine cask that's a 16-year-old rather than being. Was it Nectador was a 12 or 14? I can't really remember. But it's now a dedicated 16-year-old.
I like what they do, basically.
Yeah.
Like the one I really wanted that I never bought, which I wish I bought, but now it's just you can only get it at auction. I'm not paying that much because I'm going to open it. Was the Mill Scene, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was the one that was like the sweet shop edition. I loved everything about that.
It was the one that Brendan McCarran put together whilst he was there. I liked it. It was so LVMH as well in the packaging. It was like a little chocolate box and perfume box. So it was red and white stripes and stuff. But actually, it was pretty tasty stuff. Actually,
I like the Christmas ones. I think you just mentioned it, Duncan, as well. The Christmas editions. Again, they're always a bit harsh at first, but they settle down so nicely. And I've got a few of those in the back. You dig them out a year later at Christmas next year, you're like, oh my god, why didn't that?
There's actually talking about reductions and those editions. Pretty sure the latest the sort of Japanese one, Tale of Tokyo, is like £10 off at the moment on some retailers. So it's 65 instead of £75, and it's a cool little bottle. It's going to be in Mizunara casks, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Partly Mizunara. Yeah. Nice. But that's not actually 65 quid.
I feel for like the effort they've put into that to produce that kind of feels, like the artwork, like the cask choice. They've been going for some sort of specific type flavours. They've worked really hard on blending it.
That is going to be a beautiful gift whiskey. Because
That's what I thought.
someone that knows whiskey would appreciate it. Someone that doesn't know it will be blown away and think it's Japanese. But once you explain to them, it's not.
Scottish Japanese.
Yeah. Ben Nevis. Well, you are drinking Ben Nevis. So yeah. Marvellous. What's been at my arse? I'm going to guess it's the same as you, Dunk. And that is just out and out heat.
Oh, I mean, I've got more specifics than that. But yeah, it's very hot. I'm currently toweling myself off. Yeah.
I celebrated my birthday yesterday. So thank you for the birthday wishes, Duncan. I'm still waiting for that card to arrive through the post.
I did offer to come and see you. You said you didn't want anyone to visit. So I don't send cards. It's visit or nothing.
Don't 2 cards. Yeah, no.
Don't cards.
Chalking a visit soon. But no, so this was the first birthday in I don't know how many years where it hasn't just absolutely pissed down with rain. It's like since I was a kid, my birthday is always torrential rain. So this was bizarre. Something's not aligned. Something's going to go majorly wrong in the world, and it's my fault, I'm afraid. But yeah, so that's been at my arse, just general heat and struggling to function as a human. How about you? What's been in your glass and what's been up my arse?
Mostly been drinking this Ben Nevis 10, which I've poured again this evening. It's like it's like 2014, somewhere between 2012 and 2015. I think this one's 2014. And now I've bought some more of it from auction. I think it's just one of my go-to pours from the cupboard. It's just dirty, interesting, oily, chalky. I always discover something new in it in a way that I don't with a lot of other whiskies. So I poured that. I had some Springbank 11 local barley because it was sunny yesterday on the balcony.
That's
nice.
delish.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's probably been a while since I touched that bottle, and it's kind of mellowed a little bit. You know, it was a little bit less lively in the glass.
For the better, do you think?
Yeah, I think it probably was better. Yeah,
I find that with whiskies as well. Sometimes give it a bit of bottle aging.
Yeah,
bit of headspace.
If it's just a higher ABV, I think then
exactly.
Yeah. It's harder to call with 46 and under, but if it's over 55%, then I think you can't really go wrong with drinking a bunch. Drinking it down shoulder or halfway, and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like when you pour a cask strength whiskey into a glass and give it half an hour of air.
Yeah, 100%.
It just somehow loosens up.
And that's what we've mentioned that on tastings, haven't we? We're like, we've said it before, younger whiskies tend to do better in quick fire tasting. So if you're doing like some 4 whiskies in an hour for like a tweet tasting, something along those lines, young whiskies tend to show. Whereas if you've got those super high ABV, super old whiskies, you want to be chilling out with them. They don't show themselves the best over the quick whiskies. Periods. So definitely agree. Definitely. Bit of time.
I've had a bit of that Glasgow Tokai cask as well, the small batch, and I made a Manhattan using Wolfie's whiskey. We should say that. It's near the end of the bottle. It's hot. I wanted something cold. So I made it and I used, I think it was like 70-ish mils of Wolfie's.
Yeah.
And then I think 15 to 20 mils each of sweet and dry vermouth.
Nice.
Okay.
A couple of drops of bitters. And then I put in a really small dash of maybe like 5 mils or so of Passoa, because I've still got that Passoa thing, to see if it give it a tropical lift. So I made kind of like slightly tropical, slightly dry, slightly sweet Manhattan. Kind of worked. Yeah, it was all right. And
Sounds interesting.
What's been up my arse, very specifically?
The fingers go in there. There's something good.
2 things. One, domestically, I opened up the drawer earlier to get some cutlery out, only to find that we now have enough cutlery to serve about 25 people. So my wife, I don't know what she's been doing, but
buying cutlery apparently.
Buying cutlery. I'm sure she went to get. I mentioned to her we maybe need cutlery for another house for somebody, and she seems to have just gone out and bought cutlery for here. And the other thing was we were
secret party when you leave the house.
Yeah, maybe, exactly. But it's just unnecessary. So now I can't. I only use pretty much the same 2 knives and forks. There's 2 in the drawer that I like. They're a bit older. They're lighter. They don't weigh much. And
weirdo.
They're less fancy. I just like the older ones. I don't like heavy knives and forks. I'm not trying to work out. So now it's become harder to locate those in the drawer. I might just separate them out. I have to think about it. The other thing that's annoyed me is we were driving the other day. I won't mention the roads, but on a dual carriageway, and somebody veered in front of us, almost went into a lorry. I mean, they got about half a foot away from them. Then they veered
on the
back.
A40.
Yeah, I dared, because I wasn't driving. I was the passenger. So immediately I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is my wife going to do here? Obviously, she handled it magnificently, and then told me, had a pop at me, for daring to show weakness. And I was like, she was like, I was really cool, and it sounded a bit like you panicked. And I was like, I wasn't driving. So then what happened was this car then slowed down again. You know, you're going to go off an exit.
Yeah.
They then, they'd completely missed it. They had so they'd slowed right down. They then crossed after it almost hit the lorry to exit. They went back, so they almost went into a lorry in front of us. Could have done anything. Could have spun. They then went across the fast lane, the slow lane, over the white dividing lines, into the slip road, which was also 2 lanes. Across the fast lane in the slip road, continued to slow down, pulled into the slow lane. A car hit them, and then another 3 cars hit those cars.
What?
Yeah, and so this is the bit that most annoyed me because I think everyone's going to be okay. It wasn't too high a speed. I then called the police, and after I called the police, because I was explaining that the fault was with this car, it's very important. I feel really sorry for the people that hit that car. There's nothing they could have done about it. They can't be the world's greatest driver. So I was really feeling for them. They're just out driving their car. Some lunatics crossed 4 lanes, and they've driven into them. And there's no way they could have.
No.
I mean, maybe that, how difficult would it have been to avoid them? Point is, when I look back after I'd explained it to the police, who were very grateful for the report because they added down to their information, I realised that I'd called 911, not 999.
Thank you for your report, sir.
What's American television done to me?
Did it still connect?
Yeah, it goes through.
It does.
You don't have to. You can just call 911. But I feel like that should be banned. If you call 911, there should just be a line that says, "We know it's an emergency, but how dare you call the American number? Please dial again and
you
call
should
the
be
correct
forced
number."
to speak in an American accent if you dial 911.
Well, they should answer an American accent.
Yeah.
Which state are you calling from, sir?
Kent.
I'm just on the way to Norwich.
Yeah.
Love it.
Connecticut, Norwich?
911.
Yeah, I called 911. Oh, well, silly me.
I've written a lot of stuff down there for a jingle, Duncan. That's very good. Very good stuff.
So I've done a bit of a quiz for you two, and then we're gonna ask you some whiskey related questions, Colin.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
We think that you might be a fan of Chino's trousers. Is that
maybe?
Yeah. So we do a quiz occasionally. It's Mike versus the guest. So this time it's 2 Puds versus Colin Hampden-White. Just for
I'm 3-0 up.
He's 3-0 up against guests.
Just putting that out there.
I haven't put a lot of effort into this, so
like the podcast, not much effort.
Don't expect well-researched questions here. It's not that deep. Okay, so this is a chino-related quiz. We'll start with an easy one. Chino trousers are also known as
slacks.
Not the answer I was looking for, but it feels reasonable. Mike, guess. I'm going to go, It's too long, Mike.
Time out.
The correct answer is, I think, khakis, which is what they were considered to be originally.
Khakis, yeah.
We're going to be fair here. We're going to say that's 0-0.
Slacks is American too.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to give you half a point, Colin. That's good protest. I like that. We like
what
it
the hell?
We like it when we like it when guests give.
We do. We like a bit of pushback.
We do like a bit of pushback. Okay. Red-tailed hawks and turkey vultures can be seen in Chino Hill State Park, but which state is it in?
Arizona.
Wyoming.
Okay, it's in South Carolina. Chino Hill State Park. Okay, still half a point to Colin, 0 to Mike. Okay, the lead singer from the Deftones is called what? It's a band.
Chino.
Yeah, but the surname.
No idea.
Chino Jones.
No, it's Chino Moreno. I'm going to have to say that's
Can I get half a point for at least getting his first name straight off?
I might take half a point away there. I feel like that's very cheeky.
Yes, I agree. 0-0. Good. Okay. Well done, Duncan.
So then the decider, it's back to 0-0. Too cheeky there, Colin. I feel like someone should know the answer to this one, so let's see. Where does the name Chinos come from?
As in, what's the origin of the word?
Origin of the name, yes. Why are they called Chinos? It's possible to have a draw here. We can have a draw.
I think it's so people could hide their chai or carry their chai tea back in the day. That's my answer. Chinos.
I have no idea. It sounds.
You're going to kick yourself.
Italian.
I bet I'm not.
You sure you don't want to have a wild guess, Colin? It wasn't invented by someone called Colin, by the way. Just in case you think that's the thing.
No.
Okay. Time out. So,
go on.
Chinos apparently they originated from China, and then they went to Portugal, and they became like basically Portuguese trousers, and then to just end up just shortening it to chinos, basically. So,
I mean, how didn't we get
Fascinating.
that? How didn't we get that?
how didn't you get that? Well, now you know. Look,
Yeah.
the podcast is nothing if not educational. All right, so
Right, bonus point from me. You're now involved in the quiz. What's the most famous brand of chinos worldwide? What comes to mind straight away? Linked to a jeans company.
No, I mean, sure. No.
Go on.
Into a jeans company.
Levi.
Oh, Levi.
No, really?
They sell the most chinos.
Dockers.
Oh, Dockers. Okay, yeah.
Famous
Very
chinos.
famous, sort of black. They also do work trousers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good,
Go.
Mike.
We're all losers.
All right.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No,
we're going
well,
to call that one a draw. That's possibly the worst answered quiz we've had so far.
Yeah, possibly the worst quiz.
You can have that accolade.
Panic on the streets of London. Panic on the streets of Birmingham, Alabama. Panic on the streets of London. Duncan shit himself in a car. Doesn't trust his missus driving. Can't focus on a quiz. Duncan's panicked.
So let's get back into whiskey then, Colin. So you go
Okay.
into a pub. You know, it's your local pub. You walk in there. The state of the whiskey, you're not impressed, right? And we're not talking about, a fancy bar in London or Edinburgh. We're talking about a local pub somewhere. You've had a couple of pints and you think, oh, do you know what, I fancy a whiskey. And then you have a look. You have a little nosy behind the bar.
Yeah.
So what 3 whiskies would you advise that pub to put behind the bar to keep you and other punters happy?
Okay, immediately Black Label 12-year-old should be there.
Nice.
Johnny Walker.
Every single time. It's if I can't think of what on earth I'm going to drink, or don't know what I want to feel, what I feel like drinking, and I just want to drink whiskey. I just want to enjoy it and not have to overthink about it or whatever. It's just head for a Black Label 12-year-old. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's easygoing, fruity, slightly smoky, lots of complexity, and cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should always, I think, and it's actually, to be honest, it's probably is behind every single whiskey bar in the world, and there's a good reason for it.
Yeah.
I would love it if they stopped Lagavulin 16 behind every whiskey bar in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know how really to qualify that. It's just the quintessential Islay whiskey for me.
Yeah.
Do you
Other
think it's
people
got
have
worse
other
over the
things.
years? Side note, because some people say they think it has. I'm not talking about the White Horse days, but even in the last 5 to 10 years, or do you feel like it stayed pretty consistently solid?
I think that the profile has changed slightly, but in terms of its quality, no. Actually, relatively recently, sort of 6 months ago, I tasted a few bottles that had been over the years.
Okay.
So starting with something in the sort of mid-2000s, nothing very old.
Yep.
And then going up to what they are producing now and giving bottle age, a little bit of a leeway there.
Yeah.
No, I thought that what they're producing now is still cracking stuff. There are some highlights. I thought that what they were producing in the late noughties was the best of the tasting anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I think that what they're producing now is still exceptionally good. And although the price is going up dramatically, and it's a lot for a 16-year-old whiskey.
Well, it comes back down to about 60-ish pounds. You can get it for about 62, 63.
So
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
and I think that's great value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's-
I really do. At one point, it went up into the mid-80s,
yeah.
and I thought that was stretching it a little bit. But then all the good 18-year-olds had gone higher than that, so it's difficult to really call. But no, in the 60 to 70 pound mark, I think that's
Yeah.
a great whiskey.
I wouldn't have been so put out if the ABV had creeped up a touch with the price increase.
Yeah.
But to not even put like
yes.
1%,
Imagine it
I'd
at
have been happy.
40, 45 or 46%.
46%. Like,
Yeah.
yes, perfect. But even
Yeah.
1% would have been just like, we're putting it up X amount, but we have done this. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
You're right,
done-
Mike.
you've
If
done-
they'd
you've
done
done me
that, it would have been
dirty,
give and take, wouldn't it?
but I
It would
can
have been give and
forgive.
take
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
But-
We've taken one of the most iconic, famous whiskies in the world, and we've given you 3 extra %.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
paying
what-
for it, but-
what would be yeah, it's 20 quid more now. What would be your third? Well, it's better than we put it up 20 quid and it's still exactly the same.
Yeah.
What would be your third whiskey then, Colin?
I think my third whiskey would be something that's really easy and accessible to everybody. A whiskey that non-whiskey drinkers might have a go at and find it nice. And that would probably be a Dalwhinnie 15. It's sweet, It's
dad's a fan.
fruity.
Yeah.
And I've given it to people who say they don't particularly like Scotch, and they've quite enjoyed it.
Is this the Diageo pub, Colin?
He's going to say.
Oh my God, I had
You've
not
picked
realised.
3 Diageo whiskies. No, it's good. You've just gone with your gut. You're just showing
it's good.
the strength and depth of the brand. We like it. We like.
That was those were my honest decisions. I mean, there are obviously other whiskies that I could also and would also choose.
Dalwhinnie is an easy sipper, isn't it? Like you said.
So easy.
And I feel like Winter's Gold is actually perfect for the summer as well. They've kind of just called it. They've seasonally branded it, but
stick it in a freezer and then just pour it over ice cream.
Yeah, you can put it in ice cream. Yeah, pretty much. Ice cream makes everything better.
Actually,
including hangovers.
Stick it in a freezer and then have that alongside. Actually, this works beautifully with Dalwhinnie 15 as well. Alongside chocolate fondant, so you've got that hot and then the cold, and then the hot brings out the flavour in the whiskey as it warms up in your mouth. That's fun.
That sounds good. So you've gone for sort of classic Johnny Walker Black 12, which is 40%, but smoky, smooth, creamy, bit fruity, and then you've gone for Lagavulin 16, your classic Islay whiskey, and then Dalwhinnie 15, because they're like honeyed. Fruity whiskies. Okay, cool.
Accessible.
Yeah, they are accessible. That's totally reasonable. We should have a cheers as well.
We should have a cheers.
Hang on, before we get to you for yourself, you can do 3 more whiskies. Let's just have a cheers together. Thanks very much. Cheers. So, Colin, if you were picking for yourself, and you were about to say, if it wasn't generally for the wider public, you're about to make a couple of changes there. Yeah,
I'd probably have the original 70-year-old Mortlach from Gordon and MacPhail behind every bar. You know where this is going.
Yeah. It's like your favourite 3 whiskies ever, right? Very good.
I mean, actually, Black Label would still be among them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all drunk plenty of Black Label over the years, surely. I mean,
Black
Label, Red Label, Green Label.
I got a late 70s, early 80s bottling down there somewhere. Just waiting to be cracked.
That's really interesting. I've literally just bought one to be able to do a comparison.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I love doing comparisons. And I know there's bottle age, and it depends on how tight the seal is and all that sort of stuff. But it's fun.
Yeah. I've said it before in other pods. I'm getting obsessed with Italian export whiskies from the sort of 70s.
Oh my God! Yes,
just that
super niche.
The little kick up, 3% over the 40s. My God, so much. The Italian export grouse. Again, I'm recounting tales I've told a million times. I gave it to Duncan in a blind, and so you had the Italian export grouse, Glengoyne teapot dram, and what was the third? The Cutty Sark Prohibition,
which is banging.
And you went 70s grouse, Italian export, Prohibition, and then the teapot dram from Glengoyne.
Yeah,
dear God,
that was the
all
order,
blind.
And there was quite a drop off. Really, I mean, by some margin, I preferred the 60s export.
Yeah,
and Prohibition. Yeah, which just goes to show when it's blind, you can never tell, can you?
True.
So because you've got involved in cask management.
Yeah, I suppose that's what I would do with cask trade. Take casks that either we're buying, or mainly casks that people have bought, and we would want to know what their journey might be. So try and decide, are they in the right wood? Are they going to last the distance that they should last? Or actually, should we re-rack them? Or, if somebody wants to bottle something in 20 years' time, do we need to slow it down? I mean, all these different things.
Yeah.
And so, I'm the guy that turns up and tastes all the whiskey, and decides what to do with it.
Job, Colin.
You've also got a lot of knowledge in wine.
I love wine. Yeah.
So one of the things that we were interested to sort of ask you about is, wine casks I feel like Mike loves a wine cask.
I love a red wine
whiskey,
cask.
and for me, I feel like it can be hit and miss. I'm a sort of 8 out of 10 guy, 2 out of 10, or 1 in 5 can be exceptional. So we thought it would be really interesting to hear from you, which wine types, which wine varieties or regions really work well with what types of whiskey. What have you seen that's really sort of knocked it out of the park?
For my tastes, I particularly like European wine casks. generally because they're using European oak, specifically mainly French oak, and I like that. I like that spiciness that's added in to balance the fruit that you get from the wines, especially red wines or sweet wines.
Yeah,
I find that casks have been filled from American wines that are using ex-bourbon casks or using fresh American oak. I find them a little bit much. The wines themselves take the best wines are exceptional. Don't get me wrong, but they take an extraordinarily long time to age, and you don't get the nuance in the cask of that aged wine until it's very old.
Okay.
I think Pinot, for example, from California, or especially Sonoma Coast, or a bit in Napa, they are sweet, rich, overly fruity Pinots that I don't get on with until they're sort of 25 years old. So if you're using an ex-wine cask where the wine has been bottled pretty quickly, as they do, then you're left with this sweet, jammy kind of style of wine.
Right, okay.
And I think that transfers into the whiskey. And 9 times out of 10, I don't get on with it. The only exception to that, actually, I thought was Glenmorangie did a Sonoma Cutrer barrel some time ago. I don't know whether it was just a private client sale thing or not. It was extraordinarily expensive, but was the whiskey good? Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a great expression of whiskey that had been extra matured in a Chardonnay cask, and better, I thought, than any white Burgundy cask that I'd tasted.
Right. So that point. So it's with the European. Obviously, it's European oak, and then because it's maybe a bit of a cooler climate. Is that right overall? And they'll be having the wine in the cask for longer.
Yeah, quite often they will. Not always, but yes, they might. Especially in Bordeaux, you might be aging the wine for 12 to 24 months, quite some time, and it just lets that barrel in the French oak soak up more of the flavours, so it gets deeper into the wood. And the wines themselves are of a slightly drier style than most New World wines, and you get a little bit more tannin coming through, and spice, and I mean, this is rule of thumb for me. I prefer wine barrels for whiskey that are old world wines than New World. I mean, there are exceptions, obviously, but that's my general taste. Yeah,
so you can sort of work that out when they list the wine or the region, if they list the wine in the region on the whiskey label. But what they won't say necessarily is how long that wine was in the cask for.
Well, it won't be in for very long. I mean, 12 to 24 months for a Bordeaux. It won't be any longer than that.
Yeah.
But you're saying it would be shorter if it was from maybe like the States or Chile or somewhere like that?
It might be.
Okay.
Yeah. In Napa, they might age stuff for the similar sort of period.
And where do you think most of
they do in Bordeaux?
Where are most of the the Scottish or the English or Irish whiskey industries? Where are they sourcing their wine casks from? Not the exact places, but like, are they getting them from France, from Italy, from places like South Africa? Are most of them come from a certain region, or is it just random?
I think at the moment, with the cost of wood, it's wherever you get it.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, I think that with the proliferation of aged bourbons, wood is in shorter supply, especially with their own supply. They've got
so for longer.
True.
They're aging for longer.
They're not turning them over so quickly now, are they?
Yeah, and also sort of the local. The craft whiskey scene in America has exploded.
Yeah.
So they're taking up a certain amount
Selfish
of supply.
Americans keeping all the casks for themselves. Unbelievable.
How dare you try and improve a product?
You should know that they should send the barrels over here, and then we make scotch, and then we'll send them back. We'll send it back to you, right? Slowing the process down. Unbelievable. Yeah, it has its boom, doesn't it? There's
Yeah.
so many now, and they're popping up. Distilleries are popping up everywhere globally, but particularly in the United States and places like China, aren't they? So
Yeah, exactly. It's not just the United States in terms of the use of oak. I mean, all over the world, there is a demand for oak. So people are sourcing it from wherever they can, I think. Especially newer distilleries that don't have relationships with coopers and so on and cooperages. So they need to just find oak where they can.
This sort of feels like it sort of bleeds in to the sort of next thing that Mike and I discussed we wanted to ask you about, which is if there was no SWA restrictions, what would you love to see whiskey
What
aged
a world it would be.
It feels like you sort of led yourself there, where, they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can lead the horse to water and they might have a drink. Yeah, because if you're talking about a shortage, then it could be solved, couldn't it, if it was,
Oh, yeah.
If there was no SWA, what would you like to see whiskey aged in? Is there some sort of
different types of
out there wine that no one really knows about, we can't use to date, it hasn't been signed off? Talk to me.
For me, it goes beyond oak, and I've tasted some Scotch, well, some spirit, wasn't yet Scotch, in other woods, some in cherry wood, maple, and chestnut, and obviously these are just. They're just experiments.
Yeah, none in MDF then.
No, that would be interesting.
Hey, if IKEA did whiskey,
make your own cask. Yeah.
You've got a year to take it back.
But these experiments that I tasted, especially the cherry, was absolutely delicious.
Nice.
And well before it had been aged to the point where it would be called whiskey.
It's probably true to how it was made back in the day. They would have just not necessarily had the luxury of oak. They would have put any old wood they can get, fresh spirit. It would have been distillery or still to glass within probably a few days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, of course they were just. It was storage. It wasn't maturation.
Yeah,
it was literally just storage. And
what about that chinkapin the other day? Like that's endorsed, isn't it? Chinkapin's a bit different.
Someone has clearly got some Tippex somewhere and just put it in a log. Yeah, we got this chinkapin.
You could just slide it in. Like one of those operations, the sort of spy movie. If you someone breaking in and just adding it into logbook. And who approved sherry?
Jägermeister.
Yeah.
What?
Who said that Jaeger could be used?
There's some great use of chinkapin actually at Rasse.
Yes, that's what I tried. The Rasse, really good. Yeah, wild. Yeah. And I was thinking about trying the new Glenleckie one, but.
I haven't tried that yet.
In the end, I got the extra turbo one. I feel like I copped out, but I'm sure I'll try the chinkapin at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, in the States, they're using Gariana up at where is it now? Up near Seattle. West. Yeah.
I was going to say Westwood, but I feel like that's a shout out for a DJ we can't talk about anymore.
Yeah, can't talk about
Westland, is it? Yeah,
Westland. Well done. Yes,
Westland.
That was fantastic.
Westland,
we had that on a blind, the Guyana casks. Oh my word, they were outstanding.
Oh, Guyana, what, rum?
Yeah, do you remember? We had one of the blind
yeah.
tests, and it was out of this world. That won that blind tasting hands down. Absolutely smashed out of the park. And then I've tried putting whiskey. I put the new Rosebank spirit into some mesquite wood, and then just came back, left it for like overnight just to see if it would make a difference, because I was told it can impact quite quickly. And where's it gone?
It just went into the wood.
It's
Mike,
so porous.
Mike was in online.
I was like,
reading about how to snake charm the whiskey back out of wood.
That's why they don't use mesquite barrels and they throw a bit of mesquite in Texas, right? Noted.
Thirsty. That mesquite is thirsty. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
At least something enjoyed the whiskey.
Yeah, so if there was one barrel type you would say you want to see, which one would, if you could narrow it down?
Yeah.
What's like your number one?
I don't know, it's difficult to choose something that they haven't already tried. And that's kind of the issue today, I suppose. But
yeah, everything is derivative now, just in support of that. It feels like everything is derivative now. But you can still have a favourite, though. I mean, it's just...
Sounded like the cherrywood.
The cherrywood I would like... Yeah, that I'd like to see.
So literally from cherry trees? Or am I just being super dumb?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
all right.
Absolutely. Yep, cherrywood. unseasoned cherrywood. I think that could be pretty interesting.
I mean, with everything that they can do these days, I'm sure someone can manufacture a sort of new type of wood or something like that, which is...
Well, realistically, if you were doing if you acquired new make, you could go to, what was the Welsh word? Coles.
Coles, yeah.
Selling their new make online.
Yeah.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, because they use steel steels.
Yeah. Rather than buy their little tiny cask, go and make a square barrel out of cherry wood. And let's just see where it goes. Boom. Right, I'm on it. Done.
I'm gonna start my own company where we store the whiskey in coffins. It's dead good. Dear me.
Damn it. That's two sort of nods of the hats to you in one episode. I feel really sick. Well done, you.
It's not enough gimmicks.
Great. Yeah.
Everyone's giving it too trad. So we should do Pudding Island Drams. Don't you think, Mike?
Yeah,
Over to you,
I think so.
my friend, to explain.
So, Colin, you are stranded on an island of your choosing. It can be tropical. It can be. We've had Swiss mountain islands in the middle of two valleys. Wherever this is, you can describe your perfect island. Then you are there for 30 days. You are alone on the island. You can do whatever you want. We're not going to delve into what you're doing. However, we do want to know. You get to take with you one dessert, pudding, or afters, depending on where you are based in the UK. I'll try and cover all bases. You get to take one whiskey and one whiskey only. You get one album. We've banned compilations and playlists due to some horrendous shouts from previous guests. And then we'd like to know how you're getting home, so the method of transport and who is going to be either flying, driving, whatever, taking you back home. So 30 days, what is your island paradise?
Ooh, it would be... Colin saying, but in the Caribbean.
Nice.
So barren, but with good weather.
Excellent.
Well, the question was whiskey-wise. What would it be, wasn't it?
Unlimited supply of a bottle for 30 days.
Yeah, it's just what you're going to drink for 30 days, basically.
Oh, just for 30 days?
Yeah, so it's not a survival exercise.
We're not going to leave you to die on the island.
Yeah.
It's just like an extended holiday, a bit of self-reflection, meditation time. Yeah. What drama are you going to have with you? Bit of Colin time.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'd probably have a 30-year-old Booner.
Yes.
Oh, I literally tried one of those the other day.
So did I. It was good.
Oh, it's delicious, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten how good Old Booner can be.
Nice.
30 days with that, very happy.
The right balance between oakiness and flavour.
And it's still rich and unctuous and, fab whiskey. And I'd be picked up by Alfred Bernard on a steamship, and it would take us at least 2 months to get home with the same whiskey.
Steamship. But
I love it. You've extended the trip by another 2 months.
2 months with Booner 30. But you've also got to pick your dessert or pudding that you're going to have.
Yeah.
And an album as well. But I love the fact that you're straight onto the steam. You're obviously a big fan of steamships.
No, I like the fact that you've extended the trip by another 2 months. That's so good. That's genius. Yeah. But so what dessert? So you're going to be stuck on your Scottish island in the Caribbean, essentially.
I would have Spotted Dick.
Oh, I don't think anyone said Spotted Dick.
I don't think anyone has said Spotted Dick yet. That's nice. And would you have anything on the side with it? Custard, cream? What are we talking?
Custard and treacle sauce.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of vanilla and sweet and caramelly, but it's also got that dried fruits in it, and
it's going to work well with the dram as well, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah, excellent. All right, and
album.
Obviously we've got the headphones on now. What would be going through those headphones?
I'm sure this won't be the first time you've had this album. Wish You Were Here.
No one said that yet. But that's a great choice. No one said any Pink Floyd yet.
Excellent.
In all the episodes.
Really?
No one said it. No one's mentioned Pink Floyd. So if you're the first, you've claimed that.
Wow.
Any favourite track off the album?
Have a Cigar.
Yeah. So that album always reminds me of my uncle. So whenever I used to go and see him before he passed, he would always put it on his jukebox. He owned a really old rubbish pub.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he had the whole of the album on his jukebox because you can put whatever you want in your own jukebox.
Fab.
so he just had all his favourite songs on there, basically. And everyone still smoked in the pub, even though you weren't supposed to smoke inside the pub. And he'd sit watching the TV near the front, and when all the locals came in, they'd just pour themselves and sit down.
No way.
Yeah, no one barely ever got behind the bar, really, during the day.
Unbelievable.
Did you mention that you're going to be picked up by Alfred Bernard? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is he maybe one of the most, famous people to come out of Essex? Possibly.
Did he come from Essex?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. From places.
I feel like
I didn't know.
You might need to fact check this. Duncan has got a history of just making shit up.
No. No.
I'm sure there's lots of intelligent people that have come out of Essex.
Never met him yet.
That's
but,
where he was from. A bit like Mike is from South Wales, but he doesn't live there, right?
Wow.
We
can't all have the accents
be
where we
South
grew
Wellian.
up, can we? Colin, where were you born?
Okay, this is a weird one. So I was. This is going to sound obvious. I was born in Chelsea.
Okay.
But no, I come from Edinburgh. I was adopted pretty much before I was born. And I was adopted into a Scottish military family.
Oh wow!
Okay.
So yeah, I come from Edinburgh.
Amazing.
My parents still live in Edinburgh, and my aunts and uncles live up in Edinburgh and in Aboyne and Tarland.
Oh, class.
Wow.
So yeah, I have to go back to Scotland regularly.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
You just managed to fight off the accent.
Yeah.
Well, Dad was army, so I went to
No choice.
primary school in Glencorse, just outside Edinburgh, and then aged 7, Dad got sent to Sudan, where there wasn't exactly great schools in Sudan in the 70s. So
the local primary wasn't really up there on the.
So that would have been pretty minimalist.
Yeah, heartbreaking for my parents. They had to send me to boarding school, age 7, and we were very lucky. At that time, boarding school as it is now is horribly expensive, but the MOD, Ministry of Defence, and Foreign Office paid for your kids to go to school if you went to somewhere that was really rather odd. And that was it. I was in boarding school.
I thought for a moment there you were going to tell us that you went to school in Sudan, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out no.
No, I didn't do that.
And why did you choose Alfred Bernard then as your as who's going to pick you up on a steamship?
Oh my goodness!
Because that's quite unusual. Would you just like to just explain to listeners who he is?
He wrote some fantastic old books. He travelled around Scotland writing about distilleries and about the production techniques in the distilleries at the time. And it's a world that none of us really can experience except through him. And to be able to be talking to him on a journey and have that direct contact with the past and knowledge and colour, because he was a good writer, would be absolutely fabulous. And the longer that journey took back to the UK, the better. Exactly.
Oh, that's really nice.
That's really
so
cool.
You're gonna. What was the island choice again?
It was Colonsay.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced Colonsay. It was a very long time ago. There was a TV program where they dumped a bunch of wannabe celebrities on an island and made them fend for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One of those people was Ben Fogle, who I think most of us know today.
Yeah.
But the island they were on was barren, but it had enough to sustain everybody.
Yep.
And it was just in the most beautiful part of Scotland, out in the out in the Hebrides, and I just thought that, with constant good weather, would be rather lovely.
Yeah, and then you chose Buna 30 as the whiskey.
Buna 30.
Yeah, Buna 30.
Wish You Were Here as the album.
Wish You Were Here as the album. Yeah.
And
I've added Have a Cigar to the playlist. So
that's
already
nice.
in the Apple playlist you're on.
Yeah, cigars and whiskey.
Yeah, perfect combo. Absolutely.
So we also keen to know from you, if you could change one thing about the world of whisking, what would you change?
A dual thing. One from a UK point of view and the whisky industry doing well, and also India and the people who want to drink whiskey there being able to get access to great whiskey.
Yeah.
I wish the tariffs in India would change.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Allow the people of India to be able to buy Scottish, English whiskey, etc., more affordably. Right.
Exactly, and
Get rid
also
of the tariffs. Yeah.
and that will also benefit Scotch massively. In fact, if they took away the tariffs, there wouldn't be enough whiskey. I'm hoping that if they do bring those tariffs down, that it's done in a sensible way, because India is such a vast country with such a massive populace that if they did away with the tariffs, I think actually we'd have a problem with supply.
They love their whiskey over there as well.
Yeah, they really do.
So much. And because it's, difficult to get access to, expensive because of the tariffs, etc. To be fair, they also apply a lot of their own strange local taxes. I mean, trying to understand tax in India is very complicated.
It's also one of the weird places where they say that Scotch should be bottled in Scotland, matured and bottled in Scotland.
Yeah.
Not always the case.
They have all kinds of brands you've never heard of in a million years in India.
But Scotch also is, shipped out there and able to be bottled there for blends, and still called Scotch. And that's a long-term agreement.
All different rungs in society buy and drink whiskey in India. My wife and I lived in Mumbai for a while, and I would usually buy it. I mean, it's a very strong culture. Of all the places I lived, I'd say it was one of the most interesting, but also one of the most challenging. But I used to walk to the local mall or something. So I would walk 1.5 kilometres. I'd see all the kids playing cricket in the streets, and whatever was going on, whether the festivals were happening like Holi, etc. And so, because we're used to just walking everywhere, because we're from, we live in London usually. So rather than get the driver or whatever to come take us down the road, we just walk about, which is very unusual in that part of India, because you're walking through essentially like slums and lower class buildings to get to where you need to go to. My wife reminded me the other day, she used to go outside into the street, walk down the road. So I would walk all the way to the mall, which is about 1.5 kilometres, and she would walk out to the local stand that sold either beer or whiskey, right? And she used to go and queue there, and she's the only lady that ever went to that stand, because of course it was all just, local people. Some of them who lived outside and stuff, or in the, there's always the slums everywhere. So who knows? But every expensive building in India has a slum near it. In the big cities, so she used to go out and buy her beers from there. But I remember that stand that she was talking about, and I did go up and have a look at it a few times. And the whiskey blends are just, there's so many. You've never heard of them.
I'm looking now.
Never heard of them. I mean,
McDowell's number one.
Yeah,
that's
never heard of that.
McDowell's number one, I think, is the largest selling whiskey in India, I think.
They got Officer's Choice.
That one I've heard of. Officer's Choice, yeah.
That's a Pernod product, I think.
And then we've got Imperial Blue.
Okay.
And then
I think that's another
number
Pernod.
one is... McDowell's number one.
McDowell's number
is
one.
the top selling. Yeah.
And we just don't hear about that in the UK.
So that is the top one.
Are there blends that Scotch goes into, right? Or is it completely different? Like, is it not Scotch, it's something else?
No, I think McDowell's number one is blended Scotch, but it's shipped over in tanker, blended, and put into bottle over there, right. Which makes it affordable. And they sell a lot.
So if you could change one thing, it would be get rid of the tariffs, see what happens, watch the boom in Scotch sales into India.
Give access to great Scotch whiskies to a massive middle class that's there. And let's face it, Scotch is not going to be cheap, even if you take all the tariffs away. It's the same in this country.
It's still got shipping and everything, hasn't it?
It's quite a middle class drink. But exactly.
But it doesn't always work out like that.
HMRC still going to get his grubby little hands on it.
It doesn't always work out like that. We talk about Eagle Rare 10 often on the pod, but also there's lots of other bourbons that come over here. Not all of them, not the collectible ones, but the sort of non-collectible ones, which we're getting for cheaper here than they can buy them for in America.
Eagle Rare is the perfect example of craziness. People queuing around the block to get a bottle.
How good is it? It's so good.
We can go to Tesco, pick
30 quid currently on Club Card.
Insane.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're regularly buying whiskey on Club Card, they're selling the data on to 300 to 400 other companies, and they will make it difficult to get insurance in the future. But sure, get the discount.
But do check out honestomalt.com for your Tesco van whiskies.
Buy it on your friend's Club Card. That's my advice. Can I just borrow your Club Card? I'm just popping to the supermarket. What are you getting? Just some avocado, apples, strawberries.
Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
Hang on, you've bought 10 bottles of Eagle Rare 10. Let's go. Cheeky. So, is there anything else you want to chat about today from the world of photography or television?
I was going to say, if you don't mind me asking, where are you with the Three Drinkers now? Are you having a hiatus?
In terms of filming, yes, because it's incredibly difficult to get Helen and Lady and me for 6 weeks in a row to do a shoot. So that is on hiatus is probably the right word. It's sort of like on hold. We definitely want to do more, and we will plan to do more, and another series eventually will come.
It's like that thing in Friends when they were on a break, right?
Yeah, we were on a break.
Yeah.
And they get back together. Yeah,
10 years time. No, I mean we've got a fantastic project going at the moment, which is Drinkclusive. Sorry, Adi will actually pronounce it better than I will.
He's coming on soon.
Oh, excellent! He will definitely talk about this. And it's just a project that is trying to mentor young people from diverse backgrounds, whether that is LGBT or sort of people who are
neurodiverse.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, neurodiverse, and also just straight disability, and trying to bring them into writing within the drinks industry.
Okay.
Which is fantastic fun. I've been involved in that in mentoring somebody from Leeds who's hugely talented, and so talented that actually they've got several different directions that they could go in and be successful in. And all I can do is sort of advise them on what I know in the one direction that I think they might be best at. And that might not even be my milieu. It might be something else. But it's fascinating. And I learn so much from people taking choices when they're young now into what choices I have as somebody who is much older. It's hugely rewarding. And mentoring, I would advocate to anybody who's got experience in any industry to do.
Give a little bit of time to somebody else and help them out.
Exactly. I was very lucky, and I had it in a sort of very ad hoc way when I came into the industry. I had a lot of people who helped me, coached me, taught me, informally, which I thought was remarkable. We didn't, when I was coming through writing about drinks, there wasn't any formal programs. And also, because I came into it late, I wasn't young enough to hit most of the sort of programs that there were for young writers in the booze industry. So, those people that helped me, hugely grateful to them. And I'm hoping I can push my experience back to some young people to help them in their
sounds like you've started
journeys.
It's good to hear. Well done.
Yeah,
So,
really good.
Sounds like a good initiative.
It's fun. Otherwise, filming, yes, we'd love to get some filming going again. It will happen. In the meantime, Adie's got lots of radio stuff going on.
Adie is on everything.
He's on everything, exactly. And there's I can't talk about what I'm doing next, but it's not on radio. And then
MI5, just to be clear, it was involves parachutes, planes, and Buckingham Palace.
Of the 3 series, because you did one in Scotland, didn't you? One in Ireland and one in the region Cognac. So of the 3, which was your favourite then of the 3 series for sort of location and filming? Not necessarily for not asking which was the best one, but which one did you enjoy the most?
I think I had a duality in that I enjoyed the second part of Scotch, because we did it kind of in 2, but we released it at 2 different times. The second part of Scotch, because I wasn't rabbit in headlights and everything was new, and we had a little bit more sort of direction and a little bit more money, and production quality was better. I loved that. And then I also really enjoyed the production side of Ireland, because I wasn't in camera very much at all. I was only in 1 episode. So I really enjoyed the production side of that, which I hadn't experienced before. We've got a fabulous producer who kind of helped me too. So those 2 sort of things I enjoyed equally. And in the future, I'd happily do either of those within the 3 drinkers. We all have our own projects. I've got on-camera stuff that I will be doing. But No, I thought I wouldn't enjoy production.
Yeah.
But I did. I loved it, actually.
Does that cross over for kind of your passion in sort of photography and stuff then? Because it seems like you got quite a passion for photography.
Yeah, no, I love photography. I mean, within photography, I kind of I was coming out of being a surveyor, which is what I did at university, and I hated it. It was boring.
Like commercial surveying.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I did surveying and geography, and so leaving that behind and getting into photography, and I got into photography very quickly and sort of turned professional very quickly. Working with the Scotsman, and then came down to London, working with the Times, and then working with Condé Nast, and then after that followed on to gallery representation and exhibited all over the world. I exhibited in New York and in Austria and Liverpool and London a lot, and the National Portrait Gallery. And I kind of got to a point where that plateaued, and I always had this thing about booze in the back of my mind. I was passionate about wine. I was passionate about whiskey.
It's in the back of my mind most days, Colin.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I'm finishing work, I'm like, that's all I can think of.
Yeah.
You could take that same story. It's a lovely story, by the way. It's Derek the Builder, and Derek's going, listen, I felt like I plateaued in building, and look, Lark had always been on the back of my mind. Always on the back of my mind. I wanted to get into lager, didn't I?
No. That's actually pretty much, that sums it up.
Yeah.
So you basically saw a gap or felt the gap as such and thought, I can channel it into something else.
Yeah. And so I started taking photographs of great winemakers and whiskey makers, and then started to get asked by the publications that I was taking photographs for to then write for them, like Condé Nast or Lux magazine. It's owned by the editor-in-chief of Condé Nast. And it kind of just grew from there. And wow, that was a learning curve. Suddenly going on press trips and so on and having to bluff it to a certain extent. How much did I know about whiskey at that point? Probably not a lot. I was an amateur. I was one of the geek crowd. I loved the stuff, and I, read about it a lot. But I was by no means a pro and be willing to pay it as a pro. And then it just happened, and I started getting articles, and it kind of grew from there. And I could mix my two loves. I could do photography and writing, and then got the editorialship of Whisky Quarterly, which allowed me to do both. And that was, I suppose, for me within the whiskey world, booze world as a whole, that was my break at editing that mag.
Then a bit of production. So what's next?
Oh my goodness!
You've chalked off everything nearly. What is there? What else is there to do?
I'm really enjoying the cask world at the moment. I think it's exciting. The company that I do some work with, Cask Trade, deal with every aspect of that industry. Yes, they've got investors because you need them, because not all bottlers can afford to sit on the stock. And then we've got bottlers who are looking to try and find specific bits of stock, whether it's bottling something at 10-year-old or looking for something special and rare.
Yep.
And then being able to taste those things, buy them. Lee, our buyer at Cask Trade, then buys them, and then the beauty of it all is seeing the thing in a bottle. I mean, ultimately, it's all got to end up in a bottle, and that is just such joy. Buying or seeing a cask, tasting it, Lee buys it, customer then takes it, bottles it, and then we see it as a product, and then the cork being pulled and shared. And it's an absolute joy when that happens.
So if, I know Duncan mentioned you wouldn't have heard it yet on a previous episode, that one of his associates has bought a cask and wants to dump it into bottles for his, what was it, a special occasion, retirement, 40th, something like that.
He bought a cask of Ardner Merkin.
Okay.
He's going to bottle it at 10 years old for his 50th birthday, I think, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, for example, say he only wanted to bottle half that cask. Is that then something that side of your business would then say, well, we'll take out the rest of it and we can do something with it, or like we can manage it for you? Or
yeah, absolutely. There are always going to be customers who only want a certain amount of bottles, and that you can also talk to your customers, your bottlers, and say, we've got this amount of bottles to come out of a cask. Would you like them? So That's always possible. And I think it's only really possible if you've got enough customers that are in that independent bottling world. I think if you have that, then the possibilities are really flexible.
So I'm sure there's a few, well, more than a few, that get quite shocked when they get their final bill through and they've paid for a cask 10 years ago and that's it. And then we've got now your tax charges and your bottling charges and everything else. So, yeah, maybe you don't want to do all of that cask and you want to do some. So, yeah.
I think it's. I think that
you're a lifesaver in some ways.
I mean, boiling at different stages sort of makes sense to me if I only had one cask. You know, I mean, maybe getting a draw on it like 8 years, 12 years, 15 years.
3, 8, 10, 12, and then just small.
Yeah, but obviously you're supposed to be listening to see when it's ready.
It?
But if it's, if it's whiskey that generally would do well up to sort of 15 to 20 years, then why not get it out of 3 or 4 stages?
And then if you find yourself on a Monday night where not a lot's going on, you're just bored after work, you can just drink all 5 of them, Duncan, on a random Monday.
Yes, I could.
And a non-special day.
Yeah, on a non-special day. Yeah. If you like the pods, thanks very much for listening regularly. We appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star review.
Yes, follow us in all the usual places at Honest to a Malt on all the social medias, on X, Instagram, everything else. Follow us at honesttoamalt.com. Colin, if somebody wanted to find you online, how would they get hold of you? Have you got any handles on X, Instagram you want to throw out?
Yeah, on all of them, I am at C Hampden-White or Champton-White, if you want to put it that way.
Champton-White.
It's the same handle for everything.
Let's go, Champ.
Excellent.
I'll be there.
Let's go, Champ.
Let's go, Champ.
Love it. Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye. Not the usual end to the pod that you'd be expecting this week. We'd love it if you could at some point raise a glass with us in memory of an amazing lady we lost this week, Kate Renton. Sadly passed away, leaving behind Callum and 3 wonderful kids. Please raise a glass, ideally a Glen Scotia. Beach balls and floral necklaces are optional. But Callum, we're there for you. You need anything, reach out. The whiskey community is here for you. Anyone else, just say the word and we're there. Take care, my friend.